Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My girlfriend once looked me in the eye and said, "You are lucky I even pick up your calls." So I stopped calling. 3 weeks later, she walked into my office lobby with tears on her face. My coworker glanced at her, then at me, and whispered, "Who is she?" I held Rochelle's stare for a long second and said, very calmly, "No idea." That was the ending. To understand why it was so easy to say that, you have to understand everything that came before. My name is Dante Miller. I am 28 years old, a structural engineer in Chicago, working for a firm that handles commercial developments all over the city and the suburbs. I am not a millionaire, but I do well enough. I own a small but modern condo near downtown, drive a practical sedan that starts every morning without drama, and I can book a vacation without needing to refresh my banking app 3 times first. My life used to be very predictable. Up at 6, gym, shower, coffee, office by 8:30, work until 5 or 6 depending on deadlines, then either meet my best friend Dominique for dinner or go home to tweak custom personal computer builds for side clients. Weekends were a mix of hiking trails outside the city, gaming, errands, or occasionally visiting my parents on the south side. It was a quiet life, a stable life. I liked it. 4 years before that day in the lobby, I met Rochelle at a birthday party for our mutual friend Reggie. The party was at a rooftop bar in the West Loop, all low lighting and loud music, everyone pretending they were not checking who looked at whom. I was there mostly because Dominique guilt-tripped me into going. I was headed toward the snack table when I heard a woman laugh. Loud, bright, the kind of laugh that makes people turn their heads. Rochelle was standing in a small group, long curls falling over one shoulder, eyeliner sharp enough to cut glass, wearing a simple black dress that somehow looked like it had been styled by a professional. She worked in fashion marketing, she said later, for a boutique firm downtown that handled campaigns for up-and-coming designers. She told stories about New York Fashion Week, product launches, brand parties. I talked about load calculations and how wind affects high-rises. Somehow, she made me feel like those things were actually interesting. She laughed at my driest jokes. We stayed in a corner of that bar, talking long after Reggie's cake had been cut and half the guests had left. The first year with Rochelle felt easy. We texted all day, sent each other memes, and met for dinner after work at least 3 times a week. Fridays meant trying new restaurants. Saturdays meant wandering different neighborhoods. Sundays meant lazy afternoons at my place with takeout and movies. We took weekend trips to Dallas and New Orleans, doing the tourist things, and then slipping down side streets to find small coffee shops and hole-in-the-wall spots with excellent food. She asked a lot of questions about my work then, what buildings I was helping design, how many stories they would be, whether we would be able to see them from the highway when they were finished. I went to some of her events too, small launches and gallery nights, where she floated from person to person like she had been born in front of a camera. She would circle back to me, touch my arm, and introduce me as my boyfriend, Dante. He makes sure buildings do not fall down. I was not used to being anyone's center of attention, but with her it felt good. The shift did not happen all at once. Somewhere around year 2, something in Rochelle's tone started to change. She stopped asking about my projects as much. If I mentioned a site visit or a new design challenge, she would nod politely and then pivot back to her world. My regular routine, gym, work, a quiet night at home, turned from something she gently teased into something she criticized. "You do the exact same thing every week," she said one night while scrolling her phone on my couch. "Do you not ever want to do something spontaneous?" When I suggested plans, she often countered with something more expensive or elaborate. I would suggest a new taco place. She would suggest a high-end restaurant that required a reservation and a shirt I did not own yet. When I mentioned wanting to save more for a down payment on a bigger place, she told her friend on the phone, right in front of me, that I had a savings obsession. By year 3, the comparison started. Rochelle would come home from work buzzing with stories about colleagues and friend groups. "Leon took his girlfriend to Hawaii," she said once while taking off her heels. "He surprised her with the tickets the night before. No planning stress, just vibes." Another time, "You know Kareem? He just surprised his girlfriend with a new car, just because he wanted her to feel appreciated." She would describe how Tobias, another guy in her circle, was so fun at parties because he always knew the right people and the right places to go afterward. None of those comments were technically about me, but they landed like small stones. After she finished, there would be a silence, and I could feel her looking at my perfectly respectable sedan and my predictable Friday routine and finding them lacking. The last year was exhausting. It seemed like every conversation turned into a subtle or open evaluation of my worth. Rochelle critiqued how I dressed, how slowly I was moving up at my firm, how much time I spent with Dominique, even the way I organized my closet. "Why are you still a regular engineer?" she asked one night. "You are smart. Why are you not pushing harder for senior?" When I tried to explain that my field required time and proven experience, that promotions were based on projects completed and responsibilities taken on, she waved a hand like I was making excuses. "You get comfortable too easily," she said. "Comfort is where dreams go to die." I tried to meet her halfway. I started buying the more expensive shirts she pointed out, even though every time I tapped my car, my stomach tightened. I booked reservations at restaurants I could not pronounce. I cut down game nights with Dominique because she said it was childish that I cared so much about football and video games. I let smaller comments slide because I did not want to start yet another argument. For a while, things seemed smoother on the surface, but under everything was this growing feeling that I was auditioning for a role, and no matter how hard I tried, I was always one scene away from being replaced. 3 weeks before she showed up at my job, the breaking point arrived wearing a simple Tuesday. I was in my office running calculations for a massive mixed-use development, a project big enough that my boss had hinted it could put me in line for a promotion. The deadline was Friday, and we were behind. It was a little after 8 in the evening, most of the office already gone, when my phone buzzed. Rochelle's name lit up the screen. "Hey," I answered, still looking at my computer. "What is going on? Are you still at the office?" Rochelle asked, voice already sharp. "Yes," I said. "This proposal is due Friday. I told you I might have to work late a few nights." "Seriously?" she said. "Dante, we had plans tonight." I stopped typing and checked my calendar. "What plans? I do not see anything on my schedule. I mentioned it 3 days ago." Snapped. "Dinner with the Harrisons. They are in town for one night." The Harrisons were her college friends, married, very successful. The last time we met them, they spent the entire dinner talking about their startup's latest funding round and the vacation home they had just bought in Miami. It had been one of the most draining evenings of my life. "Rochelle, I honestly do not remember you confirming an actual dinner time," I said. "And even if you did, I also told you this project would require long nights. This is important for my career." "Everything is always so important for your career," she said. "But when it comes to my relationships, suddenly you are too busy." I closed my eyes for a second, collecting myself. "That is not fair. I have canceled things for you plenty of times." "Oh, please," she said. "You talk like you're indispensable, but you are still just a regular engineer. Not even senior level. Maybe if you actually pushed yourself instead of being comfortable with mediocrity, you would be further along." The word mediocrity stung more than I wanted to admit. I let out a breath slowly. "I'm working late on a project that changes that," I said. "Can we reschedule with the Harrisons? They will understand." "No, we cannot reschedule. They leave tomorrow. But of course, your work is more important than the people in my life." "That is not what I am saying," I replied. "I just need these 3 days." "You know what?" she said. "Forget it. I will go alone, like I always do, because apparently having a boyfriend means nothing when he is married to his spreadsheets." She hung up before I could reply. I sat there staring at my monitor, the numbers blurring. The familiar not settled in my stomach again, heavy and tight. It had been there so long it felt like part of my body. I thought about calling her back, apologizing, promising to leave early even if it meant rushing the proposal. Then I imagined what would happen if the project fell apart, because I was not fully prepared and my boss asked why. I knew the answer Rochelle would give if I told her I lost the promotion because I had left to make a dinner party, that I was not committed enough. So I stayed. I finished the calculations. I walked home after midnight under a cold Chicago sky, wondering when exactly my relationship had turned into a constant exam I was always failing. 2 days later, on Thursday, I decided to try again to make up for Tuesday. The proposal was almost complete. My boss had liked the draft. I left work at a reasonable time, picked up Rochelle's favorite carbonara from a small Italian place she loved, and drove to her apartment building in the South Loop. It was one of those trendy high-rises with a doorman, exposed brick in the lobby, and a rooftop lounge no one really used. Rochelle liked to joke that the building matched her brand. I just knew the rent was more than my mortgage, and her parents helped with it. When Rochelle opened the door, she was in a bathrobe, hair damp from a shower, smelling faintly of expensive body wash. She looked surprised, but not pleased. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I wanted to surprise you," I said, lifting the bag slightly. "Carbonara from Lombardi's. You said this week has been stressful." She glanced at the bag, then at my face like I'd shown up to sell vacuum cleaners. "I already ate," she said. "Oh," I replied, caught off guard. "Well, I can put it in the fridge for tomorrow." "Why are you really here, Dante?" she asked, arms folding. "I wanted to see you," I said. "It has been a rough week, and I thought we could spend some time together. Talk about Tuesday. You thought you could just show up without warning, and everything would be fine," she said. "After you ditched me?" "I did not ditch you," I said. "I had to work. You know how important this proposal is." "Right," she said. "Work. Your excuse for everything." I swallowed, forcing my voice to stay even. "Can I come in so we're not doing this in the hallway?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Her apartment was immaculate as always. White furniture, gold accents, abstract art that looked expensive and not a single thing out of place. It felt less like a home and more like a showroom. I set the food on the counter. "Look," I said, "I know Tuesday upset you, but this project really could change things for me at the firm. You used to say you were proud of that." "I used to understand a lot of things," she said, leaning against the island, "before I realized you were never going to change." "Change what?" I asked. "This," she said, gesturing at me. "You work hard, but only to stay exactly where you are. When was the last time you did something bold? Took a risk? You were so content with your little routine, your little life, your little ambitions." I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. "My little ambitions involve a $50 million development," I said. "That is what I'm working on right now." "That you will complete," she said. "And then what?" "Stay at the same firm, same position, same everything." You know what Tyrone said? I did not bother to hide my irritation. I really do not care what Tyrone said. Tyrone was her co-worker, the one whose name had started appearing in stories more and more often. He said people who get comfortable have already given up, Rochelle said. And he is right. You have given up, Dante. You are 28 and you have already peaked. Her words landed like a punch to the chest. I stared at her, still holding the handle of the takeout bag, feeling something cold settle in my spine. "Is that really what you think of me?" I asked quietly. "I think you are a good man," she said. "You are kind. You are stable. But you're not going anywhere. And I'm tired of waiting to see if you ever will." "I am working toward more," I protested. "I'm not pretending this proposal is small. It is a big deal. You are working toward the next safe step," she said. "The next predictable promotion. The next box to check. Nothing exciting. Nothing that shows you have any real fire." I looked around her kitchen and realized that I had stood in this exact posture before, apologizing, explaining, trying to convince her that my path had value. "What do you want from me, Rochelle?" I asked. She sighed, exasperated. "I want you to want something more than comfort. I want you to have vision, drive. You never act like you want more out of life. You just want things calm." "I want a stable life," I said. "I want to build something solid. I grew up watching my parents worry about money. I am not interested in chasing excitement if it means risking everything." "That is so boring," she said flatly. "Do you have any idea how dull it is to hear you talk about stable careers and regular paychecks over and over?" "Boring," I repeated, the word echoing inside my chest. "That is what I am to you." "I did not say you are boring," she replied quickly. "You did," I said. "Maybe not in those exact words before tonight, but that is how you have been treating me." "You are twisting what I am saying," she replied. "You always do this. You go straight to feeling attacked instead of listening." "I have been listening," I said. "For a year, I have listened to you point out everything I am not. I bought the clothes you preferred, went to your restaurants, went to events I could not stand, did everything I could think of to show you I was trying. It has never been enough. That is because you do not really want to change, she said. You just go through motions to keep the peace. That is not growth, Dante. That is avoidance. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, and a quick smile flickered across her face before she caught herself. She turned the screen slightly away from me. I need to take this, she said. Of course you do, I said. She answered and turned away. Hey, she said, her tone shifting into a warmer register I had not heard directed at me in a while. Yes, I know. No, it is fine. I'm just dealing with something. Give me 20 minutes. See you soon. When she hung up, she moved past me toward the hallway. Do you have plans tonight? I asked, already knowing the answer. I do, she said. With who? Does it matter? She said, not looking at me. Some people from work. We are getting drinks to celebrate closing a campaign. People from work, including Tyrone? I asked. Her jaw tightened. Yes, including Tyrone. He is on the team. Is that a problem? It depends, I said. Are you interested in him? She spun around. What? No. We are co-workers. Friends. Friends you are getting dressed up for at 8 at night, I said quietly. I am not having this conversation, Rochelle said. I'm not going to justify having a social life because you are sulking over your spreadsheets. I am not sulking, I said. I'm trying to understand why you have so much energy for everyone else and so little patience for me. My phone rang. Dominique's name appeared on the screen. Rochelle looked at it and gave a humorless little laugh. You should probably get that, she said. Your real partner is calling. I answered. Hey, what is going on? You still at work? Dominique asked. I was going to see if you wanted food. I'm at Rochelle's right now, I said. Maybe tomorrow. All right, he said. Tell her I said hello. I will, I said, and hung up. When I looked up, Rochelle was already walking to her bedroom. We are not finished talking, I said. Yes, we are, she said, pausing in the doorway. I have plans. You have your proposal. We will talk later. When exactly? I asked. I do not know. This weekend. I will text you. You will text me, I repeated. My girlfriend will text me when she finds time in her schedule. What do you want me to say? She asked, already halfway inside the room. That I will cancel everything for you even though you never do that for me? That is not happening, Dante. Just go home. She closed the door. I stood in her cold, perfect kitchen staring at a paper bag full of pasta. 4 years together, and I felt like an intruder by my own girlfriend's refrigerator. I left the food on the counter, walked out without saying goodbye to the doorman, and drove home in silence. The next day, I finished the proposal. My boss emailed me after midnight, calling it some of the strongest work he had seen from me and saying it would definitely factor into future promotion discussions. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, the apartment was so quiet that the sound of my own breathing irritated me. Saturday morning, I called Rochelle. No answer. I called again around noon. Straight to voicemail. I texted, can we talk? No response. On Sunday afternoon, she finally called. Hey, she said, sounding tired. I have been trying to reach you all weekend, I said. I know, she replied. I needed some space. Too much space to send a 2-second text. I asked, keeping my voice neutral. I needed time to think, she said. About us. About whether this is working. My stomach dropped. What did you decide? I asked. I do not know yet, she said. That is the problem. I am not happy. What would make you happy? I asked. I do not know that either, she said quietly. Do you want to meet and talk? I asked. We can figure it out together. Not today, she said quickly. I have plans. With co-workers again? I asked. Please do not start, she said. I'm just trying to understand where we stand. We are in the same place we have been, she replied. You doing your thing, me doing mine, and calling a relationship. We barely connect anymore, Dante. We barely connect because you're always upset with me about something, I said. I feel like I cannot do anything right. Maybe that is the point, she said after a pause. Maybe we're just not right for each other anymore. The silence that followed lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Is that what you really think? I asked. I think I need more space to figure out what I want, she said. Please do not call me for a while. I need to clear my head. How long is a while? I asked. I do not know. A couple of weeks, she said. So right before we are supposed to go to your sister's wedding? I asked. The wedding is not for 5 weeks, she said. We will figure it out by then. Will we? I asked. Can you just give me this? She said. Can you respect what I'm asking for? I stared at Max, my golden retriever, who had wandered over and laid his head in my lap. He looked up at me with open, uncomplicated trust. All right, I said. I will give you space. Thank you, she said. But Rochelle, I added, at some point we actually have to deal with what is broken. Space does not fix anything by itself. I know, she said. We will. Just not right now. Then she hung up. That night, Dominique came over with pizza and his PlayStation. You and Rochelle are on a break? He asked as he set up the console. Who told you? I asked. No one, he said. You did. With your face. I told him everything. Tuesday's fight, Thursday's visit, the comments about comfort and mediocrity, the request for space. He listened, pausing only to shake his head occasionally. I did not want to interfere, he said eventually. But the way she speaks to you sometimes? It is not okay. She just has high standards, I said automatically. There is a difference between standards and contempt, he said. You have been running yourself into the ground, trying to meet expectations. She keeps changing. Have you noticed you are calmer when she is not around? I thought about it as we played. At 2 a.m, I dozed off on the couch with Max asleep across my legs. I woke up with a sore neck, but no knot in my stomach. That felt like an answer I was not ready to read yet. The first week of space, I buried myself in work. The proposal was formally approved. Suddenly, I was sitting in meetings with senior partners, being asked for my input instead of just my calculations. My boss mentioned a future promotion again, this time in person, with a smile that reached his eyes. I did not call Rochelle. She had asked me not to. Saturday, I went hiking with Dominique and a couple of his gym friends. When I got back to the car, I saw 3 missed calls and 2 texts from Rochelle. The first text said, "Heard your proposal got approved. Congratulations." The second said, "Are you ignoring me now?" I waited until I was home to call back. "Hey," I said when she answered on the first ring. "We did not mention you were going hiking," she said. "You asked for space," I replied. I thought that meant I should not be giving you a detailed itinerary of my weekend. "I did not mean you could not tell me what you were doing," she said. "This distance feels weird." "That is what space is," I said. "Distance." "I thought it would help," she said. "I just keep thinking about things." "What things?" I asked. "Us. Whether this is worth it." "Yes," she admitted. "And I wanted to hear your voice." Something about that line felt less like affection and more like control, like she wanted to confirm I was still orbiting her. "Well, here I am," I said. "Are you angry with me?" she asked. "I am not angry. I am doing what you asked. I am existing." "You sound different," Rochelle said. "Different how?" I asked. "Distant," she said. "You asked for distance," I reminded her. "I'm just giving it to you." "Not emotional distance," she replied quickly. "Just time to think." "I'm not sure how to give you one without the other." I said that we went in circles for a while, ending with her saying she needed more time. After we hung up, I scrolled through social media out of habit. Her posts were easy to find. Photos at a rooftop bar, a gallery opening, another dinner. Tyrone appeared in several of them, not front and center, but always close. Dominique texted me screenshots. "You seeing this?" he wrote. "Is this what space looks like now?" I stared at the photos longer than I should have, waiting for anger to hit. It did not. What I felt instead was a distant kind of exhaustion. If that was what she needed to figure things out, she could have it. Week 2 passed quietly. I adjusted to evenings without checking my phone every 10 minutes. I started going to the gym after work instead of before, spent more time at the dog park with Max, and finished a custom personal computer for a client that brought in some extra cash. Work kept ramping up. My boss scheduled a meeting 3 weeks out to discuss your future here, which everyone knew was code for promotion conversation. Without Rochelle's constant commentary in my ear, my days felt strangely peaceful. I missed the early version of her, the woman from Reggie's rooftop party who laughed at my nerdy jokes. But that version had not been around in a long time. In the 3rd week, Rochelle called on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing blueprints. For the first time in 4 years, I hesitated before answering. Eventually, I picked up. "Hello." "Hey," she said. "It is me." "I know," I said. "What is going on?" "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said, "and I think we need to talk in person." "When?" I asked. Tonight, she said. When are you free? I have plans with Dominique tonight, I said. We already set it up. Tomorrow, she asked. I am working late, I said. We are presenting the development proposal to the client on Friday. Thursday. Also working late, I said. This is crunch time. You are always working late, Rochelle said. You are the one who said I should advocate for myself more, I replied. This project is my way of doing that. You sound different again, she said. Different how? Cold, she said. Like you do not care. I am busy, I said. You wanted space. I used that space to focus on work. That is what you said I was not doing enough of. That is not what I meant, she replied. I did not mean you should ignore me. I'm not ignoring you. I am talking to you right now, I said. But you asked me not to call you for a while. I respected that. Why are you like this? She asked. Mean. Dismissive. I'm being honest, I said. You asked for time to decide whether you even want to be with me. I am giving you that time and handling the biggest project of my career. That seems reasonable. She was quiet for a few beats. I want to see you, she said at last. We should not do this over the phone. Then we will talk this weekend, I said, after the presentation. You know what? She said, her voice sharpening. Do not bother. What does that mean? I asked. It means do not bother calling me this weekend, she said. Clearly your job is the only thing you care about. That is not true, I said. But I am not going to apologize for working hard right before a major presentation. I have been trying to fix things, she said. I have been reaching out. You're just going about your life like nothing matters. You asked for space? I repeated. Space, not complete disconnection, she snapped. Apparently you are perfectly happy without me. I thought about the way my chest had felt lighter in recent days. I've been focused on work, I said. Right, she said. Work. It always comes back to that. Then she said it. You should be grateful I am even answering your calls right now, Rochelle said. Most women would not bother with someone this checked out. Something inside me shifted, not in anger, but in clarity. You are right, I said calmly. What? She asked. You are absolutely right, I said. You should not have to pick up calls from someone who disappoints you. That must be exhausting. That is not what I meant, she said quickly. I think it is exactly what you meant, I replied. And I'm tired of being the person who is always disappointing you. What are you saying? She asked, her voice dropping. I'm saying I am done, I said. We are done. Silence stretched between us. You are breaking up with me over the phone? She whispered. You've been ending this in small pieces for a year, I said. I'm just putting it into words. Because of one comment? She said. Because of hundreds of comments, I said. Because of every time you call me boring or implied it. Every time you compared me to other men. Every eye roll when I talked about my work. This was just the last one. You are being dramatic, she said. I was upset. I did not mean it. You are always upset, I said. Always criticizing, always pushing, never satisfied. I am tired of living in a permanent performance review. 4 years together, and you were just done? She asked. For years where I kept shrinking to fit whatever version of me you wanted, I said. Yes, I am done. I cannot believe you are doing this, she said. I called to fix things. You called to tell me I should be grateful you even talked to me, I replied. That is not fixing. That is reminding me where you think I belong. I have to go, I added. My meeting is starting. Before she could answer, I ended the call. I sat at my desk afterwards, heart pounding, hands still wrapped around my phone. Carla, my coworker, stuck her head into my office. You all right? She asked. You look like you just walked out of a tornado. I just ended a 4-year relationship, I said. Her eyes widened. Here? Now. Apparently this is where my timing is, I said. But I have a meeting in 3 minutes, so I will process it later. She studied my face. Do you need to reschedule? No, I said. I need to nail this presentation. The meeting went better than I could have imagined. I spoke clearly, answered every question, and even pushed back on one design suggestion that did not make sense structurally. When it was over, my boss clapped me on the shoulder. Whatever has changed for you this month, keep it, he said. You are on fire. The rest of the week passed without a word from Rochelle. I half expected a furious text, a long email, some attempt to restart the fight. Nothing came. The presentation to the client on Friday went flawlessly. They approved the project with minor revisions and even complimented the clarity of my structural diagrams. After the meeting, my boss asked me to stop by his office. He closed the door, sat down, and smiled. "We want to promote you to senior engineer," he said. 20% increase in salary, more responsibility, and a formal role in client presentations. You earned this. For a moment, I just sat there. A year earlier, I would have immediately thought about how Rochelle would react. Now, the first image that came to mind was Max's face when I picked him up from doggy daycare. That night, I went out with Dominique and some colleagues to celebrate. I told them about the breakup. To my surprise, no one seemed shocked. I got a lot of variations on I am sorry, but honestly, it was time. Carly shook her head over her drink. She used to correct you in front of clients, she said. Do you remember that site visit where she showed up and started rearranging how you told the story of the building? Dominique reminded me of Reggie's birthday party last year, where Rochelle had insisted we leave early to attend a gallery opening and then spent the next week posting about how cultured she was. Hearing their versions of my relationship was like seeing it from outside for the first time. I realized how much I had normalized being talked down to. The weekend after the promotion, I did not hear from Rochelle. I cleaned my condo, reorganized my closet, and finally fixed a crooked shelf that had been annoying me for months. I took Max to the beach on the lake, let him drag me through sand and shallow water, and laughed when he shook all over my jeans. On Monday morning, I walked into the office with coffee in one hand and a strange feeling of lightness in my chest. It had been a long time since a Monday felt like anything other than a countdown to the next argument. Around 10 that morning, Carla appeared at my doorway again. "There's someone in the lobby asking for you," she said. "Client?" I asked. She shook her head. "No." She said it is personal. I knew who it was before she said the name. "Rochelle," Carla said, a question in her voice. "Of course," I muttered. "All right, I will go down." The lobby had the usual mid-morning quiet, just the receptionist tapping at her keyboard and a delivery person signing a clipboard. Rochelle sat in one of the modern gray chairs near the windows, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt instead of her usual carefully curated outfits. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun. Her eyes were red and swollen. When she saw me, she stood up quickly. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice cracking. "I am at work," I said. "This is not really the place." "I know," she said, clasping and unclasping her hands. "You would not answer my calls. I did not know what else to do." "We broke up," I said. "People who break up usually do not keep having long conversations." "Please," she said. "Just 5 minutes. Please, Dante." I glanced at the receptionist, who was pretending not to listen and failing. "Fine," I said. "Outside." We stepped out into the plaza. Chicago weather was behaving exactly like Chicago weather. Overcast, mist in the air, just enough chill to cut through my shirt. I folded my arms. "What do you want?" I asked. "I wanted to see you," she said. "I wanted to apologize." "I saw your missed calls," I said. "And your messages." I chose not to respond. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you ignore me like that?" "Because we are done," I said simply. "There is nothing left to talk about." "That is not true," she said, tears filling her eyes. "We did not really break up. You were angry. You said things you did not mean." "I was not angry," I replied. "I was clear. There is a difference." "I know I messed up," Rochelle said, wiping her face. "The things I said on the phone were awful. I was stressed, and I took it out on you. I've been talking to my friends, and they helped me see how unfair I have been." "Your friends who watched you talk down to me for months?" I asked. "Those friends." "It was not like that," she said weakly. "It was exactly like that," I said. "You spent our relationship trying to turn me into someone else. When I cannot become that version, you punish me for it." "I just wanted you to reach your potential," she said. "My potential according to whom?" I asked. "You, Tyrone. I wanted you to want more out of life," she said, voice rising. "I just got promoted to senior engineer," I said, cutting in. 20% raise. "My boss says my work has been exceptional. All of that happened while I stopped chasing your approval." Her face fell. "You got the promotion?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I start officially next Monday." "That is great," she said after a beat. "I am happy for you." "Are you?" I asked. Because the only time you talked about this project before was to criticize me for working on it. I was frustrated, she said. I did not mean it that way. I saw Carla walking through the plaza, heading back in from a coffee run. Carla, I called. She walked over. What is up? She asked. Can you meet Rochelle? I said. She wanted to talk. Carla gave a polite smile and offered her hand. Nice to meet you, she said. Then she looked at me. Who is this? Carla asked. I held Rochelle's gaze. I do not know. I said that Rochelle's face went pale. Dante, what are you doing? She whispered. I am answering honestly, I said, because I really do not know who you are anymore. The woman I thought I was dating would not say half the things you have said to me this year. Carla read the moment correctly and gave me a subtle nod. I will head back up, she said quietly, and walked toward the doors. Rochelle stepped closer. That is not fair, she said. You know me. I know the version you showed me in the beginning, I said. The one who liked hearing me talk about buildings and laughed at my bad jokes. The person I've been dealing with lately is someone who looks at me and sees a project to fix, not a partner. I've always believed in you, she said. You have always believed in what you wanted me to become, I corrected. There is a difference. You made me feel small, Rochelle. Every comparison to other men, every complaint about my routine, every sigh when I talked about something I cared about. You chipped away at me piece by piece. Tears spilled over again. I came here to fix things, she said, to tell you I love you and that I am willing to change. Do you love me? I asked, or do you love the stability I provided? The rent that was always paid, the car that always worked, the steady presence you could lean on while you chased excitement. I love you, she said. These last 3 weeks without you have been awful. I cannot sleep. I keep thinking about our memories, all the good times. I miss you. There has not been in us for a long time, I said. We have just been performing something that looked like a relationship. That is not true, she said. Think about our trips, our nights in. Those meant nothing to you. They meant something then, I said, but they have been buried under everything that came after. So that is it, she asked. You will not even give me a chance to make this right. You had 4 years of chances, I said. You chose to spend the last one telling me all the ways I was not enough. People make mistakes, she said. This was not a mistake, I replied. It was a pattern. The way you spoke to me became normal for you. It is not normal for me anymore, and I will not go back to that. How can you be so cold? She whispered. It is like you do not care at all. I do care, I said. I care about myself. Being with you meant caring about myself, less every day. I will not do that anymore. She swiped at her eyes angrily. I thought you loved me. I did, I said. But loving someone does not mean letting them hollow you out. I finally realized that. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my boss. Client wants to jump on a call in 10 minutes. You available? I glanced at the screen and then back at Rochelle. I have to get back upstairs, I said. Dante, please, she said. I am begging you. One more chance. I will stop comparing you to other people. I will support your career. I will go to therapy if you want. Just do not throw this away. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm letting go of something that has been breaking for a long time. You will regret this, Rochelle said, her voice shaking. One day you will realize what you lost. I paused at the door, then looked back at her one last time. The only thing I regret, I said, is not ending it sooner. I swiped my badge, stepped inside the building, and let the doors close behind me. Through the glass, I could see her standing alone in the drizzle, arms wrapped around herself, as people walked past without knowing who she was or what she had just lost. I turned away and went back to my office, to my actual life instead of the one I had been twisting myself into for her. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Rochelle has called from different numbers. I blocked them. She tried to message me on social media. I blocked her there too. She came to my apartment building once, but I had already asked the front desk not to let anyone up without a call. From mutual friends I still speak to, I have heard bits and pieces. She's been telling people I changed suddenly, that I became cold and distant, that she never saw it coming. It is almost funny, considering she is the one who asked for space and spent months complaining about how disappointed she was in me. Apparently, Tyrone stopped responding to her messages once he realized she was single. The rooftop bar photos disappeared. She has been staying with one of her girlfriends, crying about how I blindsided her and how unfair it all is. Some people sympathize. Others quietly admit they thought she was too hard on me. Hearing that used to make my chest tight. Now it just feels like confirmation that I was not imagining things. Last week, Rochelle sent a long email to my personal address. She wrote that she sees now how she projected her insecurities onto me, how she let her fear of stagnation turn into constant criticism, how she's starting therapy, how she wants closure. I read every sentence once. Then I closed the message and left it unanswered. I do not owe her a final conversation to make her feel better about what she did. Sometimes the ending is the closure. When I think back to that moment in the lobby now, it feels cleaner than anything we said in our last year together. My coworker asked, "Who is she?" And I said, "No idea." It was not cruelty. It was the truest thing I have said in a long time. The woman standing there crying was not the one I had fallen for. That woman had disappeared a long time ago, buried under criticism, comparisons, and contempt. My girlfriend told me I should feel lucky she even picked up my calls. So I made sure she would never have to again. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.